Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, welcome back to the podcast, Women in the Middle. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach and midlife mentor. And once again, I'm so glad to be here with you for this week's episode, which is all about 9 mind hacks when you're feeling troubled by uncertainty and aren't sure what's coming next. So I'm dealing with a little bit of uncertainty right now. I have decided to let my little parrot Dee Dee be on a perch right next to my desk instead of in her cage in a different room. So we will see how that goes. I really don't know. Okay, who can argue that there's a lot going on right now? Midlife, career angst, milestone birthdays, identity shifts, empty nests, relationship stuff, and of course, then there's COVID. Oy, COVID. Things seem to change every day, and it's not enough that you have to worry about your own health. Many of us do a fair bit of worrying about the health of our family members, young and old, children, young adults, parents, the works. I drove a kid to college last week and totally had to manage my mind and my mouth about everything I was thinking about him living in a house with other people. And let's just say I sent him off with a little care package. I hid it in his stuff. It was a large bottle of Clorox spray and like a pandemic parting pack of goodies to do my best to keep him safe from afar. I know he wasn't thrilled when he found it. He totally thinks I'm ridiculous. That's okay. He's got what he needs. Now, I know he also tuned me out on the car ride to college, but I did have him for a whole hour to myself. And I did my best to savor every minute the best I could because, of course, we're going to miss him like crazy. And I'm not sure when we're going to get to see him again. Uncertainty with all that's going on in the world. And like I was saying, it's a lot. There's definitely some decision fatigue going on with everything we have to think through every day, what we have to plan, what we have to manage. There really is a lot going on. So we're going to be unpeeling this whole topic a bit today. And as your coach, I want to make sure I leave you with some tools to help you deal with the uncertainty that is very much a part of all of our lives right now. And it seems more than ever. That's what it feels like. So if you're new to Women in the Middle, I want to take a sec and welcome you. I'm so glad you're here and that the podcast universe brought us together somehow. So buckle up, settle in, and prepare to do some midlife funk-busting work on your path to more happiness and fulfillment. Yep, that's what we're doing around here, even though it sounds like a Hallmark greeting card. Happiness and fulfillment all the way. Now, if you're a regular, welcome back. I love hearing from you, so keep the comments and feedback coming. It really helps me to keep creating episodes that are on point with what you're wanting to hear. So send your email to info@susierosenstein.com or hit me up on social. Okay, now I wanted to make sure that you got the memo about Finally First. It wasn't really a memo, but that you've heard about it either on the podcast or on my email. Now, Finally First is my monthly midlife coaching program where I teach you a whole bunch of great stuff. I teach you lessons, I help you apply the concepts in your life, and I'm available to mentor and coach you along the way. Finally First, what does that bring up for you? You can be finally first. I'm also there to answer your questions, and I love doing a deep dive into your thought work so that you can finally get unstuck and move forward. I mean, you've been spinning on this stuff a long time already. That's the thing. I really don't think age and stage need to be in the way, but they are in the way, and I'll teach you all about why and how the way you're thinking about all of this midlife stuff is totally keeping you stuck. When you join this special community, you'll become what I like to call a first lady. And one thing's for sure, this experience is a unique one. Being a first lady and Finally First, you're not going to want to miss it. And being with like-minded women is totally awesome. It's absolutely wonderful to know firsthand that you are not alone. Now, the doors are opening again to join on October 5th, 2020. So if you're curious about how you can finally put yourself first, Get on the VIP waitlist now so you don't miss anything. Head over to www.IamFinallyFirst.com. And this is a great way to finally get out of your own way, get unstuck, and stop wasting time so you can get excited about your life again. We're waiting for you, so get on over there, please. Okay, now let's get into the topic of the day, 9 mind hacks when you're feeling troubled by uncertainty and not sure what's coming next. Who me? Troubled? You might be asking. Insert laugh track here. Remember those laugh tracks from the 70s sitcoms? Wouldn't that be great? That would be a great spot for one. If I had a fancier podcast, you might be enjoying a laugh track right now, so just use your imagination. So if we only had a bridge over troubled water, I'm a normal woman in the middle just like you. I have feelings that you have. We are similar. I have a lot of training and experience, though, with thought work, and it really does help me manage my mind, which has really helped me. It's changed my life, and I am thrilled that I can share this experience and training with you. Now, I also wanted to let you know that this will be the second episode I've done about life hacks in some way or another, and uncertainty. The other one was episode 145, and it was about calming life hacks. So it's a bit of a different spin today. Also, episode 145 was recorded much earlier into the whole pandemic situation. So everything was a lot different. Now, today's episode is more about mind hacks or perspective tweaks to the way you're typically thinking about uncertainty these days. The topic of uncertainty usually refers to situations where you have less reliable information. Sometimes it's just unknown information, and it can be perceived to be a problem because you can't predict the future the way you like to do, or the way you like to believe that you can. So we as human beings think we're certain about all kinds of things, but in reality, we're not so certain. We also like to think that things should be certain. We want things to be certain, but they're not certain. It's not the way of the world. Things just aren't certain. We create a life that's pretty predictable in lots of ways, though, because we like life to be certain, or as certain as possible. In a way, we're kidding ourselves. You're kidding yourself. You're not supposed to control the future. You were never supposed to do that, but you thought you were. You got that memo, and you thought you could. You can only control yourself and how you respond to life with all of its uncertainty, and that's what we're going to dive into now. The pandemic is a great example. There's more known now than there was 6 months ago, but there's still plenty we don't know, and what we don't know means we can't predict a lot of things as a result. It's uncertain. It's also changing daily. This then means that we have constant decision making, and it is pretty draining. Do I have to wipe down the vegetables? Is that 6 feet apart or not? Do I have to carry around a hockey stick? Is this cloth mask good enough? I don't know. Is this the kind of kitchen cleaner that kills viruses like COVID? Should I be using a wipe? Is this the wrong one? Do all my green sprays work? I don't know. Am I going to be safe if I do this thing or go to this place? What will the policy at that outdoor restaurant be? Is it good enough? Can I fly? I don't know. Can I take the train? What about the bus? I don't know how to handle the insurance claim for my cruise cancellation. Should I take this option or not? Is this option going to stick around? Do I have to do it now? Is my kid going to be safe at school or college? What about those kids he's living with? I don't even know them. What's going to happen? Am I going on vacation? And so on. It's exhausting. But the thing is, there's always been uncertainty. It just seems like less. There were more things that seemed predictable, or so we thought. For example, I thought my plans for the year were confirmed and pretty reliable. I had all kinds of fun stuff lined up. Not so much. I bet you did too. One really sad example comes to mind, though, and it's not pandemic related. It just popped into my mind. I haven't thought about this in probably 15 years. It had to do with my old job. And I remember one day, just a normal day at work, there was horrible, tragic news about somebody I knew who died in a car crash on her way to work that day. She was just driving to work like any other day. Right? Pretty uncertain. But Uncertainty isn't always bad stuff either. I know that was a really sad example. Remember the time that someone you read about or knew won the lottery? Or when you got the house that you made an offer on? Or when you found out you were pregnant? Or when you got accepted to that program you applied to? Right? Lots of good stuff too. So why is uncertainty a problem, you might be asking? It's so common. Well, because of the way you think about it. You think things should be more certain than they are. If you're troubled and uncomfortable about having less predictability in your life, the way you're interpreting the situation is why you're experiencing discomfort or nervousness or anxiety. Remember, the way the world works is that thoughts create your feelings. Now, I'm sure you've noticed even now, right? If you put 10 of us 55-year-old women in a room and ask us about menopause, you're going to get 10 different answers. Or ask us what it's like to be an empty nester, 10 different answers. Or being laid off from a long-term job. Not everybody's going to agree, different thoughts. What about dealing with gray hair? Completely different experiences, right? Thoughts are at the core here. Each of those examples has some uncertainty involved, and we all deal with them differently. And that's because of the way you're interpreting it. So, for today's episode, we're going to shake things up a bit and question some of your common beliefs related to not being all-knowing all of the time. Ready? Well, now, we're also doing this with love, so just imagine me smiling at you, not hammering these ideas into your brain. They are just some mind hacks to get you thinking and perhaps considering other options, because after all, what you think is optional, but we usually just go into autopilot mode and we're off to the uncertainty races. So here we go, 9 mind hacks when you're troubled by uncertainty and not sure what's coming next. These are things that will help. Number 1, ask yourself why you think life should be certain. Now, the first idea is about what I just talked about to set the stage. For some reason, you have a belief that life is certain or that life should be certain. And when you believe this, it's easy for you to also believe that something is wrong when life isn't certain, you know? Why do you think you choose to believe that something's wrong? Think about it. Now, I'm not saying that there's not something wrong with what's happened or what's happening. You can think that if you like, but it's a larger concept of your expectations of the world. The next logical thing to spin on is the idea that life is and was always uncertain. Now, notice how you feel when you think that thought instead. What comes up for you? Now that you know that it's an option, you can practice thinking it if you want to. And if you really want to blow your mind, imagine this. What would it be like for you to just accept the uncertainty is true, that it's a life truth? What would it be like for you not to expect things were more certain than they are? That's a whole different ballgame, right? Okay, number 2. Turn negative emotion upside down. Now consider what it's like to embrace and manage uncomfortable negative emotions. Common negative emotions when you're unsettled by uncertainty are things like stress, worry, anxiety, fear, things like that. What we learn from all of this mindfulness work is that our thinking creates the way we feel. That your thinking is all optional and not who you are. You are not your thoughts, but your thoughts do create your feelings. If feelings can be changed by the sentences your mind creates, feelings are more fluid than you might find yourself believing. Feelings pass. So it's okay for you to take a step back and separate yourself from your thinking and watch what's going on for you. You can learn to feel your feelings and not be at the effect of them. Just sit with them rather than push them away. Just thinking about all this from this perspective has really helped me when I feel anxious. My experience is that I'm more open to tweaking and playing with thoughts and watching myself and my feelings. Feel them and not feel like I have to push back, flee, or freak. You can learn the skill of managing these kinds of emotions for sure, and it is a game changer. Okay, number 3, be honest with yourself about control. This idea is really important, and for sure, there's a big difference with things in life that you can influence and control versus what you can't. For example, you can't control the pandemic, but you can control wearing a mask. You can't control what your adult children do when they go away to college, but you can control what you do with your empty nest. The problem is that you get all hung up on the emotional drama associated with focusing on what you can't control. Do you see how this shift can really free you up when it comes to uncertainty? There's a bit of letting go involved, and it probably won't just be a natural tendency. You'll have to guide and supervise your thoughts to get you going in this direction. Number 4, reconsider the value of change in midlife. Now, this one was so big for me heading into my 50s. I was blindsided by the fear I was experiencing when thinking about a career change just before I was given the gift of a layoff. Now, I like to call that gift the gift that keeps on giving, but it didn't feel like it at the time. Oh my God, it did not. It was horrible. The reason I added it here was because there's a lot of uncertainty with change. It's common to think that less change equals less uncertainty. But ask yourself, is that even true? Remember what we talked about already about life being more uncertain than you think? With change, there is uncertainty, though. There's uncertainty that's related to change, and change that creates uncertainty. But any which way, the idea here is to think about what you think about change. Do you embrace it? Do you crave it? Or do you avoid it? Imagine what your life would be like if you had less fear and apprehension about change. Life-changing, my friend. Life-changing. Okay, number 5, focus on being more present. Yes, I'm talking about living more in the present moment. Really think about what this means in this context. It's not just something Oprah would say or Tom Sterner. You may remember that interview I did with him. These references will all be in the show notes, by the way. Yes, Tom Sterner talks all about the importance of living in the present moment. So if you're in the present moment, are you dealing with more or less certainty? Think about it. The answer is more. So be aware when you're not present and use it as a trigger to pull yourself back to the present and focus. One simple thought I practice thinking when I'm feeling that feeling of being troubled and distracted by uncertainty is, everyone's okay right now, or everything's okay right now. It's a good one, and you, my friend, are welcome to try it on as well. Okay, number 6, take a look at fear in your life. Now, in general, fear is something that I hear a lot about in my coaching practice. It turns out that it's a pretty common thing in midlife to make fear-based decisions more than you might want to admit. And like I alluded to earlier, it really surprised me about myself. Once you recognize the role that fear might be playing in your life, especially when it's related to uncertainty, you might want to check in on yourself and really decide if you like your reasons why. Why are you allowing fear to call the shots? What are you afraid of? Might you have regrets because this was the reason that you did this or that? It's really quite illuminating and a great exercise for you to have fun with. Yes, I said fun. Fun taking a look at fear in your life. Give it a try. Okay, number 7, practice being grateful as much as possible. This one is probably not much of a surprise. You're hearing about it more and more in the news and in published research these days. Gratitude has a huge positive effect in life. One of the COVID side effects that I'm super interested in is this idea of the COVID surprise or the COVID gift. I'm sure you've experienced it too. Even though there's all this crap, there are still some positive outcomes or side effects of the pandemic, as horrible as it is. For example, being able to spend more time with your adult children who moved home, appreciating people that you can't see regularly anymore, becoming untethered to the hair dye and letting your hair go gray, focusing on the simple things in life more and more because there's less of the, all the details of life. There's just less of that. So I know that everybody's experiencing COVID in a completely different way, but I really just wanted you to think about this COVID gift, the possibility that there are some positive things too, and to be grateful for them. So practicing gratitude will help you when lots of things are uncertain because you can totally control how you feel, and feeling grateful is a feeling that's created by a thought. You can create more gratitude in your life whenever you want. You can do it on purpose. Okay, number 8, remember that you are not alone. That's one thing that midlife reminds you of. You're certainly not the only one experiencing this weird and wonderful phase of life. I've heard this sentiment shared over and over by listeners of the podcast, by clients and women in my community. Knowing that you're not alone is super helpful in times of transition and times when there's a lot of uncertainty. It's the same with the pandemic. Even though you're possibly more isolated than ever before, you're not alone. We're all in this together, and that shared experience helps when you don't know what's next. And finally, number 9, appreciate the power of taking breaks. Planning breaks and reminding yourself to take breaks, it's a powerful reminder of a way that you can have more certainty. It's also a proven way to help stress. So take a break. The taking of a break is under your control. A little break, a big break, a change in routine, more rest, whatever it means to you. It might mean watching less news, turning off Facebook, sitting outside with your coffee, calling a friend to go for a walk, going for a drive, turning on some music, that kind of thing. Give your brain a break. Again, things are a little different now. Many of us have had vacations canceled, so we missed a big planned break, or we're not going on one that we had planned, one that was coming up. So while you still might not make it to Italy anytime soon, like me, you just might be able to do something else. Not the same, but, still something good. Maybe a local day trip, or go for a hike, or a chance to visit a friend and have one of those patio chats. Somebody that you haven't seen in a while. You can still connect in some way, and there are still some things that you can do. I have a friend coming over for a patio lunch date this week, and I'm excited. I haven't seen her in months. You get the picture now, I think. These 9 mind hacks are just waiting for you when it's easier for you to focus in on uncertainty. You get to implement these ideas. These ideas start in your mind. Thoughts about uncertainty are yours to play with. Are you going to make it a fun game or a torturous 10-hour game that never ends, like the way we used to play Monopoly during sleepovers when we were kids? Seriously, though, you have more control than you think, but not about the things that you're likely focusing on. You can't control uncertainty, but my amazing woman in the middle, you can control your experience of uncertainty. That's on you, and it's a skill you can practice. You know the drill, one thought at a time. All right, that's it for today's episode. My focus as a midlife coach is to help you waste less time spinning and feeling stuck. It's time to get excited about your life again. Remember, grab the tiara. Being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be. Check out the show notes with more information and links at SusieRosenstein.com. Download my free guide, 9 Secrets to Get Unstuck in Your 50s at SusieRosenstein.com/9 secrets. Want to connect more with me in the future? Awesome. Join the free Women in the Middle community Facebook group where we continue the podcast conversation. Head over to facebook.com/groups/Women in the Middle community. And if you're ready for private coaching, let's talk about working together. You can start to make these changes that you keep talking about. Enough wasting time, my friend. Book your free call. Head over to www.SusieRosenstein.com and click free session. And if you're ready to finally put yourself first and join the club, you can become a first lady. This new midlife membership is for you. The Finally First Club is an upbeat virtual community for midlife women just like you who want to stop feeling stuck and confused and finally start making the changes that you want in your next chapter. We are waiting for you. Head over to www.IamFinallyFirst.com. Join us there now. All right, let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one uncertainty at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.